Welcome to another episode of Life and Whiskey. As always, I'm Jordan, and today we just came off the heels of the stag comparison, and next we're going to go into this Four Roses that I have. Now, I remember, so funny story, Bourbon Junkies, Dan and Sean, I don't know them personally, follow their channel. My palate lines up with maybe Sean a little bit more than Dan. Um, it I like their recommendations. They're a great channel to watch if you're not already familiar with them. They have a lot of fun. They have a lot better production value than I have. I think I've been doing this longer, but maybe not. I'm not sure. But they did this exact same review um, uh, probably maybe like a month ago. And it was funny because I was going to do this review and I thought I had already done it, but then I checked and I had not done it yet. But they wanted to, kind of check on the flavor drift. They were just making some content, kind of like what I'm doing. They had an older bottle, a newer bottle of the single barrel, just to kind of see if it was still holding with the same quality. Because in the last couple of years, with the onset of how many people were buying whiskey, there was a huge rush to get product out the door, and it definitely seems like several whiskeys have really changed flavor profiles, whether it's actual flavor drift or if they have a new blender or for whatever reason, it just seems like flavor profiles have really shifted around a lot. And so they were kind of doing that, and I had already had this in the list in the queue here. Turns out I didn't record the video yet, and so now here I am finally recording the video. Which, if you watch the review of this latest single barrel Four Roses that I did, um, I said, "Oh, I'm doing it or whatever," and I hadn't quite got around to it. It's probably been over a month since I have recorded a video. So here we go. The single barrel. So this is that Rick House. Boy, my eyes are not what they used to be, especially in this lighting. Rick House or Warehouse, it says LE, and this is barrel 6-4I is the new bottle. So on your right, my left is the new bottle. My old bottle that I have is Rick House QS barrel 28-6, either U or V, handwritten, so I can't really tell. Both coming in at 100 proof. Um, so this has this leather top on it, and in Dan and Sean's video, I think Sean said that the leather top meant that it was a like a store pick kind of a thing. Boy, let me see if I can bring up my whiskey list quick. Um, Again, new computer, trying to get on everything. But I'm not sure if this was a store pick or not. I don't even remember really where I bought it. But we will check this out here. Give me just a second. Four Roses, there it is. Single barrel, paid $37.79 at Common Sense of T&C. Okay, so I bought this one in 2021 um, at one of the liquor stores here in town. It might have been a store pick, but I don't believe so. I think this just happened to be a single barrel. It happened to be the first single barrel that I personally saw here locally in town. And then this one I bought at the liquor store that I tend to frequent the most often because the prices tend to be the best. So I paid in 2021, I paid $46.99 for this one, and then in February, on February 7th, 2025, I paid $37.79 for this bottle. So a bit different in price there. So even though this was 4 years later that I bought this one, it's still almost $10 cheaper than what I paid for the original one. However, I bought this because it was the first bottle that I had seen. Because locally at that time, we just didn't have Four Roses single barrel in. And as I've said in many of my videos, here in Wyoming, the whiskey scene is difficult to say the least. I can go to some of the bigger towns like Gillette or Laramie or Casper or Cheyenne and have a pretty good selection at some of the liquor stores there. Here locally in our little town, there's a couple of stores that have some really good selection, but their prices are a good 50% higher, 25% higher than where I tend to shop, and actually where I shop has a pretty good selection as well. But because their turnover on a lot of the bottles, they're more of the turnover is not as high, and they tend not to go out and get um, more limited type things because their customer base, like they're right off the interstate, and so their customer base is more people passing through and whatever else, and they're kind of out on the outskirts of town, and so they really are just going for the quantity stuff. So you'll see a lot of Evan Williams, Wild Turkey, Jack Daniels, varieties of those types of things. And then, like Wild Turkey 101 will have like 3 spots on the shelf, all the way to that kind of a thing. Um, Flavored stuff, things like that. And so, as far as like new and interesting things, they probably get 3 or 4 bottles a month that they rotate out something new that I haven't seen or whatever. And so, I really like the people that work there, and I really enjoy patroning them. They treat me really well with the Stags and with the E.H. Taylors and the Wellers and the whatever. In fact, right now, if I wanted to, I could probably go down there and buy another bottle of Blanton's, another bottle of Weller, and another bottle of E.H. Taylor. And so I really, really do appreciate that aspect of it, and their prices are far better than anywhere else in town. So like, there's one place that has the best selection, and their prices are really high, and then the place with a good selection but the best prices is where I tend to shop. So I don't see it all that often. So it was a while before we actually were able to even get this. But some of the bigger towns. One thing I'm kind of surprised is that I've only been to Jackson, I don't know, 2 or 3 times, and man, their whiskey scene is terrible. You would think that a place like that throws money around like that there would be top of the top of the top whiskey selection just for like the everyday sipper kind of a good whiskey selection. Like, forget the allocated stuff and whatever. I'm sure people get that no problem, but um, like just good quality whiskey. Pretty hard to come by in Jackson. I was kind of surprised by that. But there you go. Enough of that rambling. 100 proof here. I've not really been all that impressed with Four Roses. If you watched my original review of the single barrel, was not very impressed with it then. This new single barrel I think is better, but also still not super impressed. My personal opinion, their best whiskey is the Four Roses Small Batch Select. Not the small batch, but the small batch select. Their yellow label, you know, it's pretty thin and leaves a lot to be desired. The small batch is kind of meh, but the small batch select here in Wyoming tends to be around 60. Actually, I don't know. I have not seen it here in Wyoming. I bought it in South Dakota in Rapid City, and I want to say I paid like $62 or $63 for it. Head and Shoulders, the best one in my opinion. I have not had any of their new single barrel releases, the ones with the different mash bills that they have. I almost bought all 4 bottles from Blackwell's Wine and Spirits. I want to say it was like a hundred or $120 for the four bottle collection. I think it was $100. I almost bought it, and when I started shopping online, I just started adding things to the cart. Next thing you know, it was like, I don't know, 5, 6, $700, and I was like, all right. And I talked myself out of it, so I didn't get it. So I have not had any of those yet. But on the nose, here's what I find. I find that Four Roses is a little sharp and bitey. find that it's a little thin in the profile and that it's kind of a one and done hitter. That's my own personal opinion. Maybe I'll be wrong, but just in the nose alone right now, again, it's kind of cold down here, but that nose is so thin. I mean, I can get something out of it sticking my nose in there really deep and really working on it. If I focus and don't talk, I get a little bit of something that's kind of floral on the back end, a little bit of ethanol. That time it was a lot of ethanol and a little bit of floral, but I don't really get sweet notes. I don't really get I mean, there might be like the lightest honey in there that you can imagine. I don't really get oak. I don't really get fruit. Not much of anything. It's really, really light in the nose. This new barrel, like I said, so, this might be a 2020 or I don't even know when I bought it. I just put 2021. So this might be a 2020 or a 2021 release. This one I bought in, what did I say? February. So this might be a 2024 bottling or a 25 bottling. I am not sure. I don't know. There might be a laser code on here. Give me just a second. See if there's anything on here to distinguish this. There's a laser code on here. A second. See if I can decipher this. 1227155124. I'm betting this is a 2024 bottling, and I'm betting this is a 2020 bottling. The laser code on here. 20 less 2020. There you go. That solves that mystery. So 2020 bottling, 2024 bottling. That has a chemical fresh grass acetone on the first go here. Let's give that a swirl. Now we're starting to get some more traditional bourbon, a little bit sweeter. Ethanol forward, really covering a lot. A little bit of oak tannin, a little bit of caramel, a little bit of honey. I will say the coloring on this whiskey is a bit darker than it is on this particular one. I don't know how well that shows up. This is kind of like a gold. This is more of a mahogany, kind of a reddish, darker color. But I'd say on the nose alone, this comes out ahead a little bit. Yeah, this just has a really, really light nose profile. So going down the taste. I don't know. It's exactly kind of what I expect. So that might be the most flavor that I've ever gotten out of Four Roses. But all the notes, like on a 1 to 10, all the notes were coming in at like a 3, 4, maybe a 5. Maybe. They're really light, really thin. It doesn't really coat. I was surprised there was a lot more sweet notes in there, a lot more caramel, sugar, honey in there than I remembered there being. There was a bit more astringent oakiness on the back end of it, kind of a bitterness that I wasn't really a fan of and didn't really like. And the ethanol, the proof, again, this is coming off of a 127 proof stag. It was really bitey and sharp, really spiky on its notes. And I don't know what the age. I don't think these are age stated at all, and I don't know what the age is on these. But man, it just this particular one, and it just seems like it's a young whiskey. It might be 5 years old or 4 years old. It doesn't seem like it has a lot of time in a barrel where those flavors are really melding together and making that seamless transition from flavor to flavor. Like they were very spiky, like it's a fairly young whiskey, and it might have been. I don't know. Um, and they go through the whole multiple mash bills, multiple yeast kind of a concept. You can go look up the Four Roses stuff on their website, learn all about it. But yeah, thin, spiky, I can see that people would like it, but it's not my jam. It just that one was just wasn't enough. So again, in the nose, this has a little bit more to offer, a little bit deeper, more hefty in the caramel. Um, it smells like it looks. It smells a little bit darker, I guess would be the way to say it. But it's not. I say it's hefty, but it's only hefty compared to this. So it's a stronger nose profile than this, but it's not a strong nose profile. It's still very light in the glass, not very dense in comparison to say these stags. But give it a sip now. I did not do a water rinse in between, so we're coming straight into this. Man, I don't know how to rate these against each other. Very viscous and oily in the mouthfeel, but there was zero flavor profile. Like it was like drinking water for the first 3 beats. Then there was a subtle sweetness. It wasn't overpowering. It wasn't very sweet, but it was a sweetness that came on along with a mild, low, like all the notes were very tamped down, but like a cinnamon. And then there was an oak that came in, a little bit of tannin in there, not astringent. And then the proof just kind of hit at the back end of that oakiness that kind of combined with the the proof and the oak kind of turned a little bit bitter, and it spiked and it hit a lot harder. Like this drinks a lot hotter than the 120 proof, which is very surprising. And that's kind of been my experience with Four Roses is that it's very bitey. I don't know why. It's not like if I was introducing a noob to bourbon, I would not put them on Four Roses. That would not be the flavor. Like I would much rather you drink and try a Wild Turkey 101 because there's a lot going on there than putting you into something like this. And then when you get to like the yellow label or the small batch, they're just super thin. Um, yeah, I don't know. It's just not my favorite brand. Um, that's all there is to it. Second sip, yeah, it's just really thin on flavor. It tastes has a mouthfeel that's a little bit viscous, a little bit of sweetness, not much, and then a little like the first noticeable note is like a charred oak, black peppery kind of thing going on mixed with sting of ethanol. This has more flavor than this one. It has more complexity than this one, and I would say it tastes older where the flavors are a little bit more melded together and not as siloed and spiky. This was very spiky from note to note, the few notes that were in there. But let's go back to it now. Again, no mouth rinse. Let's go back to it straight off of this one. Let's see what we got here. The nose smells sweeter on this one. Now, still really thin. Very spiky. Flavors are very spiky. That astringent, bitter oakness came through mix like black pepper, bitter oak, and proof kind of came through at the tail end for the finish in that one. Um, the first couple of notes were kind of non-existent to a little bit sweet, kind of going in that honey realm. Okay, not worth $47, but $38. Now that's pretty darn cheap whiskey, so I don't know. Kill this one, I guess. Neither of them are my jam. I'll be honest with you. More complex, more going on. Um, more viscous, creamy. There's one more extra sweet note in this that kind of makes up for it until the finish versus this one. The sweetness on this one does not outcompete the oak. I'm gonna guess that it's a rye spice that's in there that's mixing with that to kind of it's like rye mixed with the proof, the oak tannin that kind of sends it in a direction that I'm not a fan of. But yeah, there you go. So 2020, 2024 bottling, single barrel, Four Roses single barrel, both 100 proof. The newer version is better, but not by much. I think for less money, you are much better off going Wild Turkey, Woodford Reserve, Wyoming whiskey. I think they're small. They're small batch. You can't go wrong with. Um, Most any of the benchmark series, I think. Granted, it's Buffalo Trace product, but I mean, for somewhere between 17 and I don't know, I've seen it as high as like $28, but somewhere in that realm, way better whiskey, way more complex, better drinking experience. I think, and this might be sacrilegious, again, another Buffalo Trace product, but ancient age. Um, Sweet caramel, cheap. You can buy it by the plastic, 175 for like $10, $15, something like that. Better in my opinion because you get at least one solid good note out of it. Whereas these, I don't know. I don't think Four Roses really is my jam. And like I said, I paid $62 or $63 for that small batch select, which is far better whiskey than any of these today. There you go. Thanks for watching. I know that was a lot of rambling. Hopefully you got a little bit of something out of it. I know it wasn't very up tempo, but it's kind of the end of the day here on Memorial Day. Been through it. Been up since like 6. Yeah, a lot going on. Not a lot of videos, so sorry for the content drought. I'm gonna try and edit this, get it all figured out. Again, new computer, so I'm still in the process of making everything work. But yeah, drop in the comments down below what you think. Am I off my rocker? I really just have not found Four Roses to be where it's at, even their single barrel program. With most single barrels, you kind of get that honey barrel once in a while. You hear reports like Henry McKenna was a good one. I watched a couple reviews, and the reviews I watched, the people must have just got like the best barrels because the one that I got, which I paid $75 for, and it was not $75 whiskey. It wasn't that good. I mean, it was okay whiskey, but it was probably equivalent to these. Versus the reviews, you get that a lot. I think that there's just better whiskey to be had at a better price. At some of the lower levels. So don't use price as your guidance. If you are a Four Roses fan, you're like my hunting partner's girlfriend. She is huge into Four Roses, so this is her jam at $38. God bless you. Like that's the perfect place to be. But for me, if I can get something for $51, that's absolutely fantastic. I don't remember what I paid on these Wellers. Probably the worst Weller ever put out. And then that one's absolutely fantastic. Got a bottle of that. A couple of bottles of that because I some to friends. Same with the E.H. Taylor, absolutely fantastic. I think I paid $45 for that. I'd much rather those. Um, let's see here. Old Forester 1910. Also, definitely get that one for roses. Um, New Riff. You can get anything from New Riff, whether it's bottled in bond or their single barrel. It's gonna be these are $38 here or $48. Um, think I paid $52 or $53 for their single barrel. New Riff is far way better than that. And if you're feeling like taking a gamble, I really do think that the Wyoming whiskey, with one exception, do not get the Outrider. That is a waste of your money. You are probably not going to like it. It's probably for somebody, but it's not the average person. And I know here locally, a cheaper liquor store that I go to, that was with the exception of the single barrel, that was the more expensive whiskey that there was. The other offerings that they have, which are all kind of their 5-year offerings, like Independence Rock, their private selects, their I don't remember what other ones. Yeah, but those are all like that $63 range. And I know if I go to Casper, I can buy them for like $58, something like that. Those are far and away better experiences than these. Granted, you're doubling the price. But their small batch I can pick up for like $35, and I would take Wyoming whiskey small batch all day long over this. So there's your apples to apples comparison. So all that to be said, thanks for watching. You guys have yourselves a great day. If you haven't already, like, comment, subscribe, check out all the older videos because I don't have that many newer videos coming out. I was releasing videos every Wednesday and Saturday, and now they're just gonna come out whenever they come out. But please follow along, check out my older videos, and see if we can't get you honed in on a place to spend your money appropriately without going overboard. Let's see if we can help you find. You don't need a whiskey collection. I might do a couple videos actually here, um, kind of a poor man's whiskey selection. Or if you're just starting out, or if you only have $100, what bottles would you buy? Like if I had $100 budget, let's say, I think I could probably get somewhere between 3 and 5 bottles. That is, you drank moderately heavily, let's say, for a month on $100. I think I can get you some pretty spectacular bottles. Meet 3 to 5 bottles under that, in that price range. I think I can get you some fantastic whiskey for $30 or $40 a bottle. I'm going to throw in your benchmarks and some of your other bottles that a lot of people skip over, because uh, they those bottles just hit way above their price point. And one thing that I think kind of gotten washed away in the last year to 2 years, let's say, early times bottled in bonds. Still, fantastic whiskey and overlooked by most people, and like $20. So there you go. All right, that's enough rambling. You guys have yourselves a great day. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned. We'll see what's next. That's all I'm going to do today are these 2 reviews, and we'll catch you in the next video.